Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be looking at the basics of Matlab as we'll be looking at the workspace, variables, and a number of commands to use. So let's get started. So first of all, you open our Matlab, assuming you already have Matlab installed. So Matlab to take a while for it to load, for it to open, and the time it usually takes depends on the machine that you are using. You are using machine with higher, let's say higher specs or of higher generation, it will load much faster. So you should be seeing something similar to what you are seeing from my screen, something similar to mine. You, if it will be different, it won't be that different from what you are seeing. So over here we have the menu bar, we have the toolbar. Yes, called the toolbar. This is called the command window. This is called the current directory or current folder contents, and it's usually the directory where the MATLAB gets installed on your machine. This is called the workspace. This is where values of variables that you will be using will get displayed. But always advisably, it is always advisable to work in it's always advisable to work in a specific folder that you create, because it allows you to keep your scripts more organized, and in programming being able to organize your data is a very good skill to have in order to create your own folder where you can work from. Just click on this, just click on browse for folders, then you move to wherever you want to create the folder, be on the desktop, it could be wherever you want to display it, then you move it there. So I for one like to keep it here. I think I already have a folder created. What's the name again? Sorry, Matlab. I think this will be here rather. Matlab files. Okay, so we just select it. Select the folder. See the name of the folder that you chose will be displayed here. Meaning that whatever scripts that we create will appear here. So no need for you to go around looking for it. So if you prefer it to be on the desktop, you create a folder on the desktop, then you click on browse, then you click on desktop, then you select the folder that we want to use. If one like to keep my files on a specific drive, which is on the files drive, so I'll be working from here. So now that we are familiar with the interface, or also if the interface you are seeing seems strange to you and you wish to change it, just come to home and click on layout. There is a number of layouts here. You have right now I'm using the default layout. So if you prefer another layout, you can choose the two column layout. You can also choose the all but command window. You can also create custom layout too. That one depends on you, but for one we'll go with the default layout. So let's first start with variables. First of all, when we say variables, think of them as containers in which we can store data in. And for MATLAB, a container can take any data, be it number, strings. That is, if you are coming from, if you already abreast with other programming languages. When I talk of integers, strings, booleans, should be familiar to you. So there are two ways to work in MATLAB. The first is through the command window, and the second is through the script, the use of scripts. But we first look at the command window, then we later move on to the use of scripts. We'll be using the script more due to how advantageous it is. But before that, let's work with the command window first. So to declare a variable, just need to type anything. A variable can be, the name of a variable can be anything except it must except it must not begin with a number or any other symbol other than underscore. So it can be A, can be B, can be C, can be a number, can be number, but it shouldn't start with a number like this or something like something like this. Something like this. It wouldn't work. So to declare a variable, just type, let's say A, then we bring the equal sign. The equal sign is for assignment. To assign whatever is on the right side to the left side. So whatever we put on the right side, to store it in our A, which is our variable, which is the container. So in this case, we want to store a number. So let's say 4. And then just click on enter. So the Matlab command window is designed such that when you store, when you assign a value to a variable, just by clicking on the what do you call it, just by clicking on the enter space, just by clicking on the enter key, it will output the variable together with its content back to you. And you can see that from the workspace, you can see the variable name, then the value. That is basically the purpose of the workspace. Whatever variable that we work with, together with its value, will be displayed here. That is if we run the code that we are using. Hope that is clear. So let's try one more thing. Let's see name. Let's see oh, same. I also think that. But the disadvantage what the disadvantage of using the command window is that you can only type one code at a time, meaning that you can't write multiple codes and run them at the same time. That is one of the disadvantage. That is the disadvantage of the command window. You can only write and run one line of code at a time. And this is really advantageous because what if you want to write a code that will complete a number of tasks? This is where this is where scripts comes in. But before that, let's clear the command window. And to do that, you just type CLC. Then everything in the command window will be cleared. In order to remove or clear the workspace tool, just need to type clear, then hit on the enter space. Then everything within the command window, the workspace will be cleared. So to create a script, all that you need to do is just click on this quick access tool named script from the toolbar. So just click on it, then a script will be created. Let me change the layout so that okay. I think this one is okay. So choose since this one was a custom layout that I created. So you can just in order to create a custom layout, you can just move and call it the windows around. I'll, for now, let's see. Let me stick with the default one so that we don't confuse anyone. So we are sticking with the default layout for now. So this is our script and it is untitled. So let's just click on this untitled. So let's just click it is untitled. Immediately you see untitled, meaning that we are yet to save it. So in order to save it, just hit on Control S. Then you give it a name. To this case, let's call our first script variables and enter. So when you hit on enter, the name that you used will be displayed here. And you can see that for Matlab scripts, it has the .m extension. So take note of that. That is really, really important. So let's do exactly what we did here. So to do that, I believe we said a was 5. So after that, all that you need to do is just on the run. So what's here? Oh yeah, so a equals 5. I think the run is around here. No, yeah, here's the run. So to in order to see this run, just go to editor and you see it here. So when you click on the run, just as how what you did initially, what just as what happened initially, the variable together with the value that we stored in it was outputted to the command window. And from the workspace, we can see the variable together with the value. So just as I said, with the command window, we can't execute more than one line of code at a time. By using script, can can add name equals or but before that the let's clear the workspace, then the command window so that we see the effect clearly. So when we click on run, then we scroll to the bottom upwards, you can see that both the first line and the second line of code were executed and outputted to the command line. To mean that using scripts can execute more than one line of code at a time. That is what makes it advantageous, or that is what makes we prefer using scripts more than doing it from the command window. That is clear. Now, now that we are done with the variables, let's all right. As for now that we've now that we know what a variable is and how to assign values to variables, let's talk about some of the basic things that some of the basic, let's say, elements that we make use of in Matlab. The first is the semicolon. If you notice, whenever I click on the run, the variable a and its value, or the variables together with their values, get outputted onto the command window. Now, sometimes we prefer that not to happen. That is, sometimes when we are dealing with long lines of code or a large number lines, a very large number, let's say quite a number of lines of code. So in order to tell MATLAB not to display or output the variables together with their values to the command window, we will use what we call the suppressor. And in MATLAB, the suppressor is the semicolon. So we just place a semicolon at the end of the variables or at the end of each line of code. Then you click on run. For that, let me clear so that the effect can be seen clearly. Let me clear the workspace too. So run. As you can see, you see that within the command window, the variables and the values that were assigned to them, none of which ended with the semicolon were outputted to the command window. So that is the purpose of the suppressor. And in MATLAB, the suppressor is the semicolon. However, you see that the workspace did as did thus, even if we put the semicolon there, the workspace works as intended. The variables get displayed together with their values. Also, when we talk about MATLAB, it means matrix laboratory, and most of the operations that we perform in MATLAB are usually with respect to matrices. are usually with respect to matrices. Yes, so whenever we are working with Matlab, most of the cases, everything that we do, although it may not seem as so, but it's as if we are working with matrices. That's basically how what it is. And another element to know is called the who's. Now, what this who's does is that if you enter who's at the command line window and click on the enter, whatever variable and values are within the workspace will be displayed or outputted to the command window. So that is the purpose of the who's. By entering who's the command window and hitting on the enter key, all the variables and values that are within the workspace will be made available or will be outputted to the command window. So in order to test this, let's first clear the workspace, then again who's. See, nothing was outputted to the command window, implying that the who's indeed returns or turns and outputs. The who's indeed outputs the values and the variables and their respective values within the workspace to the command window. So that is the purpose of the who's. Now let's talk about some of the basic operations that we can perform in Matlab. Matlab can basically do almost all of the mathematical operations from addition, multiplication, division, and so on. In order to do the multiplication, you can just say 5 plus 2, then run it. Then you see added 5 to 2, then we got 7 and outputted the 7. You can choose to assign it to a variable. Let's clear this workspace. The on the workspace, the command window. Let's clear the workspace too. Then click on run. So it outputted the variable a together with its value 7. Then within the workspace too, you can see the variable name, then you can see the variable name, then what we call it, the value 7 which was assigned to it. The same way we can do for subtraction, same we can do for division. As you can see, 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. It was displayed as it should. Multiplication, however, we use the asterisk operator. So you can see 5 times 2 is 10. So basically, that's how it is. And I believe the in order to raise a power to an exponent is 5. As you can see, 5 to the power 2 is 25, and it was outputted perfectly to the command window. So you can perform mathematical operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, raising a number to an exponent. All of it, Matlab can handle it. The output will be displayed or outputted to the command window for you to see. Now, I'm sure one would be like, so what if we were to put the suppressor here, but we still want to display the value of A? So let's say we wrote a mathematical expression and we want to display the value, but we still want to use the suppressor. In this case, we use what we call an inbuilt function called this. We will come to functions later, but we will use this function. So basically, you just use this function, then you pass the variable to it. You click on, but before that, let me clear the space. Clear, clear, right? Then click on run. And as you can see, the variable or the value of this expression 5 to the power 2 which was assigned to A was displayed. In this case, only the variable A was displayed as intended. So we can do that for 5 multiplied by 2, then you run it and see it displayed perfectly. That will bring us to the end of Workspace variables and some basic commands that we make use of in Matlab. I hope you enjoy the video. If you have any questions, just write it in the comment section and I will see and I'll try my best to answer them if possible. Also, if you like my video and you wish to see more of videos on Matlab, subscribe to my channel, and also turn on your notification so that you don't miss any videos that I post. Our next videos will be more on advanced concepts in Matlab, and I hope you don't miss out. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. See you later. Bye bye.